Okay, today we're jumping straight into one of the absolute wildest, high-stakes dramas unfolding in the Premier League right now. We're talking heart-pounding tension and some incredibly razor-thin mathematical scenarios for a relegation battle that honestly almost nobody saw coming. We're looking at Tottenham Hotspur, a massive modern footballing giant, suddenly backed completely into a corner, staring straight down the barrel of the second tier. It is absolutely wild. So grab a seat, because the margins we're dealing with today are just incredible. 48. Just let that sink in for a second. 48. That is the terrifying number of years since Tottenham Hotspur last played in the second tier of English football. You literally have to go all the way back to the 1970-78 season to find a time when Spurs weren't in the top flight. I mean, entire generations of fans have lived their whole lives without ever seeing their club drop out of the highest level. They've been this ever-present force since the Premier League was even founded back in '92. But right now, that nearly half-century streak is under the most massive threat imaginable. So let's look at exactly how we got to this 48-year relegation nightmare. It really all comes down to the disaster at Stamford Bridge. The real catalyst for this absolute emergency was a devastating trip to West London. Look, having to go to Stamford Bridge to face your bitter rivals when you are literally fighting for your Premier League life, that is the ultimate nightmare scenario. And the brutal reality is, they lost 2-1 to Chelsea. What makes this so agonizing for Spurs is that just one single point, literally just a draw, would have ended this whole relegation panic. 1 point guarantees safety. Instead, manager Roberto De Zerbi had to watch his team fall into the same old familiar traps, conceding entirely avoidable goals and leaving that trapdoor wide open. Let's break down exactly how this disaster played out. Just 18 minutes in, boom, Enzo Fernández strikes. You can feel the panic instantly setting in. Then, fast forward to the 67th minute, and Andrey Santos doubles the lead. Now, Richarlison did manage to claw one back in the 74th minute, but by then, the atmosphere in the stadium was just absolutely deafening. Chelsea fans were relentless. They were roaring, generating this massive, mocking wall of noise, completely loving the fact that they were pushing their rivals to the absolute brink. They were celebrating their new manager, Xabi Alonso, of course, but they made absolutely sure Spurs felt every single agonizing second of that jeopardy. And that leads us to West Ham's last lifeline. Because Spurs couldn't grab that 1 point, the biggest winners of the weekend weren't even Chelsea. It was the team sitting quietly, desperately down in 18th place. Suddenly, a door that was about to slam shut on West Ham got kicked wide open. Looking at the bottom of the table, Burnley and Wolverhampton are already gone. Nottingham Forest is totally safe. But there's Tottenham, hovering right on the edge at 38 points. And right below them, breathing right down their necks, is West Ham United with 36 points. Both teams have played 37 games. That means there is a tiny 2-point gap and just one single game left on the calendar. The margins literally do not get any tighter than this. Which brings us to the final day decider. Everything, the money, the prestige, 48 straight years of top-flight history. It is all coming down to the final day. No second chances. Here is the ultimate math for survival. Spurs are playing Everton, while Nuno Espirito Santo's West Ham goes up against Leeds. The nightmare scenario for Tottenham is actually brilliantly simple and totally terrifying. If West Ham wins, they jump up to 39 points. If Spurs lose, they're frozen at 38. If that exact scenario happens, the table completely flips, West Ham survives, and Tottenham is officially sent down. But there is one absolutely crucial safety net for Tottenham to keep in mind, and that's their massive +12 advantage in goal difference. While West Ham can totally catch them on points, they are 12 goals worse off. So if West Ham only manages a draw against Leeds and Spurs lose to Everton, they'd both be tied on 37 points. But because of that massive +12 cushion, Spurs would win the tiebreaker and survive. So a draw just won't cut it for the Hammers. They absolutely have to win. This whole situation really illustrates the unimaginable psychological pressure inside the dressing room right now. I mean, Tottenham's manager Roberto De Zerbi openly came out and admitted that this relegation decider is a bigger match than last season's Europa League final. Just let that sink in for a second. Fighting for your absolute life at the bottom of the table carries a way heavier, way more suffocating emotional weight than fighting for a glittering European trophy. The sheer terror of dropping out of the Premier League completely dwarfs a European final. So we've seen this incredible 48-year streak hanging by a literal thread. We've seen how that disaster at Stamford Bridge handed West Ham the ultimate final day lifeline. And we've broken down the math, where every single pass, tackle, and shot is going to mean the difference between absolute salvation and total disaster. With all that history on the line, and two massive clubs standing right on the edge of the abyss, The only question left for us to answer is this. When the final whistle blows on Sunday, who will survive the drop?